I'm Rachel Williams. I'm International Chair of Ipswich Rotary Club here in District 7930. Rotary works on international understanding, goodwill, and peace. And what a great thing to do for Rotarians to help people in Afghanistan and empower Afghans to help themselves. So it's been a real pleasure to know AFCECO and to know Ian Pons of AFCECO. I am a sponsor of an Afghan child with AFCECO. His name is Shadab and he lives in Kabul. My mother also has one, and so does my sister, and I have been doing events to try to encourage people to help AFCECO with sponsor children. If there's anything we can do for Afghanistan, it's to help the future generation.
We're here for two main reasons. One, to give the children an enriching worldly experience, to reinforce their language skills, communication skills, and their understanding of democracy and the world. And to also to represent their beloved Parvarishka, which means foster haven, to share their understanding of Afghanistan as Afghans with the world, to teach people about their Parvarishka, and also raise support for the orphanage program, which we need to do this winter as a funding.
Situation when the Taliban and Mujahideen fight with each other in 1994. Then the Taliban came fight with each other, and my family was living in Kabul with their relatives, and until they got separated and all our valuables got stolen. Just my family stayed in Kabul, and we didn't have anything, no home to stay, no food, no work, and no water to drink. My small sister was crying and just for a piece of bread. And I saw with my eyes that a rocket came into our home and cut neck of my grandfather when he was during the prayer. And I was in that room and I saw the walls of blood and cut and has cut head off in the floor. I will never forget this happened. I was so sick, nearly to die. Then the Taliban get my father and my younger uncle into Logar province, just for asking why you don't have long beard and hat. They broke my father's leg and put him into jail. And they tortured my uncle. And first Pauling has fingernails, then they skinned him because he couldn't not speak Pashto very well. My mother was begging, taking each foot of Taliban, asking, please, please give me my husband back. I have 6 small children. They become orphan, and we don't have house to stay, and we don't have anybody to help us and work for us. She cried, and Atalib said a bad word for my mother. My older brother, he became very hungry and get fight with him. And the Talib shoot him in the leg with a gun hand. After 3 years, my parent got peace from Taliban, and he cannot speak well and cannot walk very well. But I'm very happy he's alive. My mother and my older sister decided to work in different houses. They wash clothes from 7 morning until 4 p.m. For that, my mother have a problem with their hands, and my 2 older brothers, and selling vegetables on the street just for making money. When I decided to go to school, I didn't have uniform, no notebooks, no pen, or even no shoes to wear. Everybody was laughed at me, and I hated school. Then my parents decided to send me with my sister and my small brother to the special orphanage in Kabul. In there, I learned what's life and what we do for change our life. And in here, old Maria changed to the new Maria. And even though people put pressure in my family, why Maria is not married, she must be married. They understand my life path is to becoming something more just for a slave to their husband. I really want to live. I really want to work with my my people and work for my country. Thank you.
The Afghan Child Education and Care Organization was founded and directed by a young woman who also grew up as a refugee from war. Andy Shepard saw hundreds of children working and living in the street and felt she had to do something to give them what she had been given: safe place, health, and a good education. She opened orphanage not to save the children, but to take the national tragedy and make it as strange. These children will become professionals, leaders, and girls equal to boys. In Afghanistan now, there are almost 2 million orphans, and over the half the population is under the age 16. And Andisha sees the future of her country is very near, no matter that is done. Any plan to make a peace begin with the children. Now Mexico has 12 orphanages and serving 700 children in different provinces of Afghanistan. And each orphanage is like a model of peace.
As a woman in Afghanistan, I am fortunate.
Like Andisha, the director of PepsiCo, I was able to get an education and with the support of an open-minded family, pursue my dreams. But dreams in Afghanistan means little if they are not in some way tied to helping others in their struggle for peace, for equality, and for opportunity. Everything about PepsiCo centers around providing those three things to the children. Otherwise, it would be subject to a most devastating life. We believe that only one of these children has a great effect upon a family, and that family affects a village. If 100, 200 villages affected, perhaps even a country. Many people wonder why PepsiCo is growing. In just 4 years, we went from 3 orphanages to 12 orphanages. They also wonder how we are able to give everything to the girls, especially older girls, equal to the boys. And what will happen to these children if they get older or become adults? To answer all these questions, it is important to know that PepsiCo is not just like working Parveshka is not just only an orphanage. It is more like a foster haven where the children, the working widows, drivers, instructors, all live in one big extended family. And also, many of the children, they still have families in different regions of Afghanistan, like in Kunar, in Mazar, in Farah, in different parts. This creates a broad base of support within Afghan society. And also, most of the children, they come from very conservative family, even the older girls. And even sometimes from mullah's family, but they all support what PepsiCo is doing. They support the PepsiCo's mission to promote skills and leadership for the future. So PepsiCo believes that the key to peace is investment in human resource. And most of the truth is that most of the Afghans, older Afghans, their only hope is their children. When one of our 13-year-old girl, Zainab, she went to her remote controlled province, Nuristan. There, people treated her like a celebrity, put her up in a class, and asked her to teach the other boys and girls. Modern archaic morals about what a girl can do and cannot do. People desire midwives, doctors, teachers, engineers, and the possible income and prestige. So, as our first generation of children enter university, they still remain in PepsiCo family for an exchange for continued support. Who can take on responsibilities better than those children who know more and understand more about their orphanage? So the extended family continues to grow and grow and grow till its effect can be felt all through Afghanistan.
We would like to share a poem by Mina, an Afghan woman who fought for human rights.
I will never return. I am the woman who is awoken. I have risen and become a tempest. Through the ashes, born my children. I have risen I have risen from my rivulets of my brother's blood. My nation's wrath has empowered me. My road and burned villages fell me with hate against the enemy. I am the woman who is awoken. I found my path, I never return. I have opened closed doors of ignorance. I have said forward to all golden bracelets.
O compatriot, I am not what I was. I am the woman who has awoken. I have found my path and will never return. I have seen barefoot, wandering, and homeless children. I have seen henna-handed brides with mourning clothes. I have seen giant walls of their presence swallow freedom in their revenant stomach. I have been reborn among ashes of resistance and courage. I have learned the song of freedom in the last breaths, in their vows of blood and in victory.
O compatriot, O brother, no longer regard me as a weak and incapable. With all my strength, I am with you on the path of my land liberation. My voice has mingled with thousands of arisen women. My fists are clenched with fists of thousands of compatriots. Along with you, I have stepped up to the path of my nation. O compatriot, O brother, I am not what I was. I am a woman who has awoken. I found my path and will never return.
I have been working for 3 years in the orphanage and wanted to bring children to America for an immersion, and we got a grant from, I guess they call it the evildoers, Goldman Sachs gave us some money, and also the embassy in Kabul. And thanks to them, I brought 6 children plus Nazreen, who is the principal of our learning center. And we are, I don't know, I think I'm what they say, diwana crazy. I rented a big RV that sleeps 8. And we are driving the RV down the East Coast, stopping at every big city, giving presentations, meeting people, tour of Capitol with my senator from Vermont, sitting with a Navajo elder in Phoenix around a campfire telling stories, Disney World, of course, and swimming in the ocean. And also seeing Afghan Americans. We're going down the East Coast all the way to South Florida, then to New Orleans, then across to Austin, Texas, Phoenix, San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, then across the middle of the country in March. And we ended in the Big Apple. Why not? And we'll be there for 4 days in March before we fly back to Kabul. And I think you'll see us on CNN because we're stopping in Atlanta and they want to do a story. There are many military people doing many great things. I met many Marines before I decided to go to Afghanistan. I heard a message that to wage peace and democracy in the world, we need other soldiers who don't wear guns and uniforms to also contribute. And I heard this from Barack Obama early in his presidential campaign, before all the other jargon started coming. I heard this out of his lips, and I thought, wow, okay. Afghans are tired. They're tired of the manipulation of their country by outside forces. Pakistan, Iran, China, the United States, England, Italy. There are 46 nations with boots on the ground in Afghanistan. And they're not really particularly working together from my point of view. I like to use the analogy of how did Houdini get out of his knots? He had 5 people tie him up. And I think that is one complication. You can't wage peace with a rifle in this situation. And it's extremely complex and a long conversation, and I don't want to give it a short answer. But if you have 3 hours after, I'll talk to you. Keep in mind that these children have never experienced almost everything they're experiencing now. From the ocean, to an airplane, to a superhighway, to a shower spigot working out of a wall, to lobster, which they think is rather disgusting. One of the keys to AFSICO is it's an Afghan operation helping Afghans, and it's not exclusive, it's inclusive. So all of the children come with their families. Do you know that UNICEF did a study a year and a half ago? 75% of children worldwide that are called orphans actually have one or both parents still living, which is very interesting and food for thought. So many of the children are true orphans, but many of them have a mother, a father, a family. But as you heard in Maria's biography, it's a very difficult place to be a woman, a girl, and a child. And for most Afghans right now, today, it's a desperate situation. It is deemed the worst place to be a woman. It is way at the bottom as far as life expectancy. For a woman, it is 43. For a man, 44. It is very important not to be raising the children in a little perfect bubble and then somehow integrate them in society. They're part of their society still. Parents come and go, they visit the orphanage. The children, many of them go back to their village in the wintertime and spend time there, as you heard about Zainab going home in the winter, and they had her teaching. So this is really important because then it brings a broad base of support. If someone in the government or some fundamentalist outside government or inside wants to give AFSICO a hard time, and there are plenty. There's a saying in Afghanistan, you want to make yourself more of a problem dead than alive. And then you live. And for AFSICO, it would be much more of a problem for these people if they tried to make big problems for it because of the broad cross-cultural support from mullahs to Pashai, to Pashtun, Hazara, Tajik, everyone. And this is the key to sustainability, to growth. And so that is why AFSICO has continued to grow, I believe. It's people up. 2008, and I had spent a lot of time with some Marines coming back from the war, and the young ones were suffering from PTSD, visibly, and I heard this quote from Obama, and I was in a place in my life where I wanted to go. I knew nothing about Afghanistan. I thought it was in the Middle East. I thought they spoke Arabic. I thought they all went, la, 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 la. I didn't know anything about Afghanistan. I just knew my country had been at war there for 8 years, and nobody seemed to know anything about Afghanistan. And this bothered me as a teacher. So I decided to find an Afghan operation. I wanted to be a part of a small Afghan operation, and somehow luckily got connected to Andy Shafari, and she had just decided she wanted to start giving the children more educational opportunities, and they thought, let's bring this crazy American and have him live with them. And I lived in the Mahan orphanage for 6 months, and I fell madly, deeply in love with the children. They are part of my life. I can never say goodbye to them until they tell me to go. And so I came back during the housing crisis, and my over-mortgaged house, put it on the market, and went around the country raising money for books to bring back with me to Afghanistan. I asked them, can I come back? They said, You just show up, we'll be there. And just went about my life even though I had no money and incredible debt, and only a belief that what I was doing would somehow work out. And then I even bought my plane ticket back, one-way ticket, and I got a call from the realtor in the middle of the worst housing crunch, an old hippie house in the middle of the woods in Vermont. There was a bidding war. And it had mice in it too. And they sold my house to a really nice old young Vermont couple. It was perfect. I will never forget the moment because I was 2 days before I was getting on a plane. I was sitting in a coffee shop in Washington, D.C. I took out my credit cards, paid them off, and cut them in half. I called all the taxmen and lawyers and everyone and paid off all my debts, paid off the mortgage, had no bills, no debts, no career, no retirement. But I said goodbye to it all and got on the plane. I have about $10,000 in the bank for a rainy day, and this is my life. They're my life. And any adult, the most important thing is their child. And as Nazreen said, most Afghan people, the only hope they have in their entire lives right now is their children. And Disha, they trust her. She comes from them. She comes from what they came from. And she has a broad network of support from people who are old and young, people who fought the Russians, from mullahs to young college students to farmers in the field. And with this broad base of support, the Afghans that I have met, and I've been to Mazar, and I've been to Jalalabad, I've been up into the mountains close to Nuristan, and I've been to Herat. And the Afghans that I've met outside of the organization, they know what democracy is, and they know what education is. And they value it more than anything. The first class I gave in 2009, a girl, Mahbuba, was in class, Maria was in that class. And only a few of them could speak a couple words of English. And it was 5 minutes to 7 p.m. And I was exhausted from a long day and trying to figure out what I was doing. And I said, you may go, finish. And Mahbuba spoke in Dari to the rest of the students in the class, and then she looked at me with this amazed look on her face. Ian John, what time is it? 5 minutes to 7. She said, we want our 5 minutes. This is not a strange thing. This is common. I encountered it every step of the way. And I still encounter it today. And this appreciation for real education, for opportunity, for the chance to do something in a village where most pregnant women are in danger of their lives. Thank you so much.
What if a portion of the estimated 1 million orphan children in Afghanistan could be raised in a new kind of orphanage? One that is inclusive, not exclusive, of the villages or provinces where the children come from. What if these new orphanages operated with the blessing of the home village? What if, aside from a liberal arts education, they offered security, teach equality, non-discrimination on the basis of religion, ethnicity, or gender, and otherwise nurture in a manner very much like that of an extended family? What if the goal of this new orphanage was not so much to save as many children from the streets as possible, but to impact a number of them over time, creating a civilian leadership, professionals who are not going to expatriate, but who will remain in their beloved country out of a deep sense of khat, what all Afghans long for, their homeland's earth beneath their feet. What if these children could learn the power of community and develop the skills to build and strengthen it on a local, national, and international scale?
She's okay. Thanks.
What if they could learn that the first step to building a better society is to find one's own voice?
How many roads must a man walk down before he is
And then to listen and speak to others from the heart. From honesty and integrity, and with a dedication to the common good. No need to wait. The what-ifs are already in motion. The Afghan Child Education and Care Organization, envisioned and directed by Andisha Ferit, an Afghan woman who herself grew up homeless during the Soviet era, has in the last 4 years opened 10 orphanages. 5 in Kabul, 2 in Jalalabad, 1 in Herat, and 2 for Afghan refugees in Pakistan. Recognizing that the vast majority of war-weary Afghans yearn for peace and believe in the value of education and the sanctity of human rights, Andisha has embraced several hundred of thousands upon thousands of orphan children from Kabul to Herat to Mazar Sharif to Kandahar. They are called orphanages out of respect for the degree of poverty and oftentimes horror these children have survived. But the association ends there. Fosterage might be more accurate. At any given time, there are 60 to 70 girls living at Mehan in western Kabul. They range in age from 7 to 17. The boys' equivalent is Satara 2, a couple hundred meters down the road. Satara 1 is a little further away. That's where the youngsters live, boys and girls aged 5 to 7.
How is it they learn to cooperate? They learn boundaries. They do not beat on each other, pull each other's hair out, break everything they see. Why is it they are functioning and growing? What is it that is working here? And that is a very profound and interesting question. And I do think it has to do with here, specifically, this orphanage. There's something going on here.
The 3 buildings are similar. 3 stories high, a courtyard with garden, 6 to 8 bunk beds per room, a library, space to play games and have meals. The aim here is a long-term commitment to see these children into adulthood with grace, self-respect, a good education in an environment that is non-punitive, democratic, and free of discrimination.
Salam.
It's really simple, yet visionary. Take a serious problem, the thousands of desperate children, and nurture in them a group of future professionals and community leaders. This isn't simply a humanitarian effort. This is taking responsibility for the future of one's own country. One child is from Bamiyan in central Afghanistan, home to Hazara. Another is Tajik from Herat, Pashtun from Jalalabad, Uzbek from Mazar Sharif, and Nuristani from the most isolated villages in the Northeast Mountains. Each brings his or her own rootedness to the orphanage. Then, something magical happens. Racial tensions dissolve, and that sense of belonging becomes one working and loving community. No one can know for certain what's in store for Afghanistan, how long the war can go on. Some people even say there is no hope. But visit these orphanages, and you will be privy to an ever-growing new generation of Afghans. They are neither faint of heart nor cynical. The future they envision is not just a dream.
What would it take to change the world? Provide food to the hungry and water to the thirsty. Teach children to read and keep them healthy. Shelter families and train a new generation. Give the poor a chance to better themselves. Create a worldwide network of peacemakers and conquer a disease that has killed or crippled millions. Could one person do it? What about 1.2 million?
My name is Frank Wessel.
Tamara DeWitt.
Gaston Cabat. Pat Draper.
Eu sou Adélia Vilas.
Dr. Naresh Goyal.
Mon nom est Awa Umau.
Gary Parrish.
Warren Coffey.
Lisa Simmons.
Eric Kimani.
Meu nome é Eduardo.
Singh Arora.
Megan Coutinho.
These men and women are changing the world. They're members of Rotary. Professionals and community leaders organized into more than 32,000 clubs worldwide. They volunteer at the local, regional, and international levels and dedicate themselves to a simple motto: service above self.
That's what Rotary is all about. Vision to see, faith to believe, and courage to act.
So many of us, we sit back and we go, gee, I'd really like to help somewhere in the world, but I don't know how to do it. And Rotary gives you all the tools you need.
Personalmente tengo...
Just the fact that you are a Rotarian opens doors all over the world.
For members of Rotary, no project is too big. Working with UNICEF, the World Health Organization, and the CDC, Rotary has immunized more than 2 billion children against polio and reduced the disease by more than 99% worldwide.
With not too many dollars, these Rotarians and our partners are doing a tremendous job, very effectively, very efficiently.
Rotary has spent more than $500 million on international scholarships and foreign exchange, while its graduate-level programs in conflict resolution train peacemakers from around the world.
When I started working for Interpol at the United Nations, I already had the background to understand international relations.
For Rotary members, the reward is immense and immediate.
Helping others is one of the things that they really enjoy. It makes my day.
The salary I receive spiritually is so huge that you cannot put a value on it.
Being a Rotarian is almost selfish. Yes, I help people, but I get so much in return.
When our world seems senseless and even hopeless, Rotary Club members of all races, colors, and creeds join together to care.
Hopefully we can bring some hope and some help, emotionally as well as physically.
To protect.
The job that is to be done can be done.
To connect.
But no one has a dry eye at the end of these projects because the kids will come back and ask for a picture with their doctor.
And to make a difference.
It is possible because we are Rotarians. We can do it. We should do it.
But even for 1.2 million volunteers, changing the world is no easy task. Learn how you can become involved.
It only takes a drop to make a river. And all we have to do is just make sure that we are in the right direction, we are committed to it, and it will get done.
Rotary International. Ordinary people working together to accomplish extraordinary things.